Hi, friends. It's time for our Bible story, and we are on story number 12. Story number 12 is Going Out of Egypt. And let's see what's going to happen in this Bible story. This one says God's people went away from Egypt. They went as far as they could go. Moses led them. The people knew that God was with them. Each day in a cloud, God was with the people. Each night, the cloud was like fire. God was with the people all the time. He was showing them where to go. One day, the people came to a big sea. They could not go over it. They could not go around it. The king and his men were coming fast. They wanted to kill God's people, but God made a dry place to walk in the sea. On one side, the water was high. On the other side, the water was high. But there was a dry place where the people could walk. Moses led the people through the sea. And this is all the people coming through, and the water standing up on one side, the water standing up on another side, and in between is dry ground. The king and his men came too, but God made the sea go over them. That means God closed the water up all over top of the king and his men. God took care of his people. He helped Moses lead them away from Egypt. They were not the king's slaves anymore, so they sang a happy song. And this is a picture of when the water was there all over the sea. God stood the water up on both sides. And when God's people came, they walked right through. But that water was standing up. And so it looked like this brown, dry ground. And then when the king and his men came wanting to kill God's people, God closed the water up and it fell on top of them. And they all drowned. Something to ask. Number 1. Why did the people want to go away from Egypt? Well, they wanted to go away from Egypt because the king, who was called Pharaoh, was working God's people really, really, really hard. And he was not kind to them at all. And God was fed up. God said, it's time for my people to come away from Egypt. And so the people had to prepare to leave. Number 2, who led them? That means who helped them get away and leave Egypt? Well, that was Moses. Number 3, how did the people know that God was with them? They knew God was with them because in the daytime, God was moving in the clouds and he could be seen because everywhere the cloud moved, the people were supposed to move with the cloud. And then at night, God let the cloud be fire. Because at nighttime, you can see clouds in the sky. They're just maybe a little bit lighter blue than the dark blue sky. And so at night, God allowed that cloud to become fire. And so the fire was moving and the people was following the fire at night. And that's how they knew that God was with them. Number 4, how did they get across the sea? Well, you remember God stood the water up on both sides. That means that the waters parted because God used Moses. And when we get to our other Bible story book, I will tell you a little bit better in those stories how it really happened. But God parted the water and he used Moses to do it. Then number 5, did God take care of them? Meaning, did he take care of his people? Yes, he did. We heard that God took care of his people. And then it said, how do you know? We know because when the people got through the Red Sea, that's the name of the sea, when they got through the Red Sea, they were up on the other side of the hill where when they were leaving Egypt on this side and coming through, the water fell on top of the Pharaoh and his people, and God's people was up here on the hill, and they were looking at what God had did. What did God do? Or what God had done? What he did was he protected the people from the Pharaoh and the Pharaoh's men. And so God was making sure that his people were okay because God was the one who chose to bring them away from Egypt. That's how we know. And now we have something to do. God took care of the people, so they sang a song for him. And then it says, does God take care of you? Of course he does. God takes care of you because he makes sure that you have somewhere to live. He makes sure that you have food to eat. He makes sure that you have clothes to wear. He makes sure that somebody gets to wash your clothes. He makes sure that you get to go to school. He makes sure that you get to spend time with family and to spend time with friends. Sometimes you get to eat out at maybe your favorite restaurant. Maybe sometimes you get pizza called in to deliver at your home. Different kinds of ways God does good things for us. And so God is always taking care of us in small ways and in big ways. How about this one? This says, will you sing a happy song for him? That means, will you sing a happy song for God? And I don't know what kind of happy song you could sing for him, but you could make up a happy song. You could say something like, I love you, God. You are a good God to me. You could sing something that just means something to you. And it doesn't have to be something you heard on the radio. It doesn't have to be something you heard on your phone or your tablet, the computer, or in television. It can be something that you feel in your heart toward God, and you can sing it to him. And it doesn't have to sound good to anybody else except God. So you can make up a happy song if you like, friends. And so that's our Bible story for this Sunday. And the title again was Going Out of Egypt. And so this is what we have heard today of how God brought his people out of Egypt, coming from the Bible. And when we come back again, I will read you a different story, maybe a storybook, maybe a picture book. I'm thinking maybe I'm going to read something from Clifford the Big Red Dog. That's what I'm thinking about, that storybook. So we'll see, but don't forget to read and listen. Some of my friends have to listen while I'm reading, and some friends get to read along because I try to put my Bible picture book and my storybook pages close enough so that you can see the words and read along too. And so I will see you the next time, and I want you to be good, and I want you to be kind.